Hello friends, I hope you're doing well. Yes, you read the title correctly. It's another book haul today. I'm very excited for this. So I do have quite a heavy bag. So recently I was in the city with my mom and her mom. We were actually there to go to a museum, but the next day when we were coming back home, she mentioned a bookstore, and of course I'm always down for a bookstore. I spent like $120, but I have books in here that I feel like have literally only been read once, and they were like 20% off what you would like normally see them priced at like a Barnes & Noble or something. We were there for like maybe an hour or so just browsing the shelves. I literally never left the fiction section. The bookstore had other sections for sure. I think they sold like vinyl music and stuff. They sold movies as well, and they had lots of other genres, like basically every genre of book. But I ended up literally only going down like 3 aisles. I kept finding things that were like on my TBR. It was like one after another, boom, boom, boom. So many good things. And it always feels that much more special to find something in a store, like tangible, that I can pick up and bring home, versus like my last book haul I did online. And there's nothing like wrong with online book shopping at all. I do it often, but there is something about going in and being able to like physically touch the books. And you know, I wouldn't have ended up with this cool tote bag. They were like a plastic free, like no plastic bags. And I saw this one and I just thought it was really cute. So this is gonna be my my road trip snack bag. So anyway, let's get started, shall we? Okay, first up is one that the title intrigued me. I read the blurb and then was like, that actually sounds like something my mom would read. She already had a huge stack. I kind of found it like towards the end, I think, of our time there. And so I said, well, why don't I go ahead and get it for you as like an early Christmas present? First Christmas present of the year in August. It's never too early. And that is The God of the Woods. This cover intrigued me as well, for sure. First of all, we have like this beautiful forest scene, and then we have this like pink line of something, some sort of substance dripping down, kind of like blood, but it's pink. I am possibly gonna read this before I wrap it, just because I am kind of curious. I don't read a lot of like whodunit murder mystery type books, but basically it takes place in 1975 at a summer camp, and our girl goes missing. So obviously this sparks like a huge manhunt, and this isn't like the first time that somebody in her family has gone missing. I guess her brother vanished 14 years prior and he was never found, so that like adds this like other layer of tension to the story. And I can tell by flipping through it, it is told from many different characters' perspectives. Anyway, I have heard good things about this, but that is The God of the Woods. Okay, the next one I'd put on my TBR, and then I took it off because I was like, I don't know anything about I think it's like a manga that it was like inspired by, but then I saw it in the store and I was like, you know what, it's actually not that long and it just looks like so much fun. And I've never read China Miéville before, but he's a very well-known science fiction author, and I think it would kind of be funny for this to be my first like introduction to him, because it's a partnership with Keanu Reeves. So I guess they co-wrote it, or somehow, some way, they are both involved with this book. And this is The Book of Elsewhere, and it's inspired by the Berserker comics. Not Berserk, Berserker. So I don't know, I'm maybe like completely confused. A mind-blowing epic unlike anything the two genre-bending pioneers have created before. It says it will delight existing fans and create new ones, so I'm kind of hoping that means like I can go in completely blind and still understand what's going on. Basically, it follows a person known as B, and he wants to be able to die, I guess because he's like immortal, and apparently a US Black Ops group has sort of agreed to help him with this. I do love science fiction. I have been wanting to read Miéville. I just haven't known like where to start. Again, this seems kind of like an odd one to start with, maybe, but you know, I see Keanu Reeves' name and I just couldn't pass it up. It's basically in perfect condition, so I was like, you know what, I might as well save a few dollars. I know that Miéville has won like a Hugo Award as well as like an Arthur C. Clarke Award, among other things. Like he is a very well decorated science science fiction author. So I'm excited to dive into this one. It's supposed to be, from what I've heard, I think I've seen one other booktuber review this book, and she said it's very like action-packed, gory. I have a feeling it's going to feel sort of like comic book-esque in that sense. So I'm very excited for the Book of Elsewhere. Okay, next up is one that a lot of you are going to be like, you've never read those? Like, how are you a booktuber? You call yourself a booktuber and you've never read those. Okay, Sarah J. Maas. I know she has legions of loyal fans. I read, what's the big one that she's famous for? ACOTAR. It was okay. I think I'm just past the point of, because weren't they like young adult? I don't know. That was like a whole thing too, was like, were they supposed to be young adult? Were they supposed to be like new adult? Whatever. I'm not going to continue that series. It just didn't grab me the way that it did most readers. However, I know that she has this other series called Throne of Glass, and these are supposed to be just as popular, just as good, but these are epic fantasy, fairy tale. I don't even really know, y'all. I feel like I'm very out of the loop with her. I hope that this one grabs me, even though ACOTAR did not, because I do love fantasy, and I kind of want to get back into it. And I know that she's kind of known as sort of a gateway author into like more traditional fantasy. But Selena, I think that's how you pronounce the main character's name. She's an assassin. She's supposed to be very, very good at killing people. Again, this is one of those books I feel like I need to kind of say nothing about, because everybody knows what there is to know about these books, I feel like, except me. I feel like I am like being excluded from some sort of club or something, but I'm like self-excluding myself, like I'm purposefully excluding myself. I don't know if that makes any sense. Whether I like it or not, there is no doubt that this woman is an absolute powerhouse. You guys wish me luck, because I want to join you guys. I really do. I want to join like the SJM army, the fan club, but I will find out this fall when I read this book. Next is one that I have heard somebody review, and she mentioned that it wasn't a perfect book. It wasn't like a 5-star read, but it brings up really interesting questions about our modern world and how reliant we are on the internet and how obsessed we are with like social media and stuff. This is Leave the World Behind, and there's some sort of like power outage or something that happens. It's a blackout, and so there's no internet, no TV, no phone service. And so it's kind of like, what would you do in that scenario? It's also nice and short, 250 pages, nothing crazy. So Amanda and Clay are our two main characters, and they end up meeting like another couple along the way. And so it's like, who can be trusted? What happened in New York? Because that's where the blackout happened. It says, Leave the World Behind explores how our closest bonds are reshaped and unexpected new ones are forged in moments of crisis. I've never heard of this author before, Rumaan Alam. Never heard of him. So that'll be interesting. The Washington Post said it's a brilliant distillation of our anxious age. I have seen a lot of, I'm going to get rid of this horrible sticker. I feel like I have seen a lot of books coming out recently. In fact, there was one that I picked up, thought it sounded really interesting, and then I put it back on the shelf because I was like, I don't think I would actually really enjoy that. A girl, the main character, was like the daughter of influencers. But it was interesting because the whole concept was that she was like the child of famous YouTuber parents. We're starting to see like our very modern way of living has kind of like started to shape our society. We're starting to see that pop up in our fiction. And I think it's timely, obviously. So I'm very curious about this and other books like it. So I'll be curious to see if I like this one. Okay, 2 more. The next one I'm very excited about. I feel like I got pretty lucky with this one. So I was just gonna listen to The Spell Shop, but then they had so many copies of this, like so many people. I don't know if it's like people buy it, read it once, and then donate it to this used bookstore, or if they have some sort of supplier that gives them extra copies, but I saw it in person and I was like, you know what, that is a really gorgeous book. So I went ahead and picked up a copy of The Spell Shop. I heard Catherine Karras here on YouTube talking about it, and she was definitely raving about it. She was talking about how cozy it was, and it's one of those like cozy fantasy tea shop, spell shop, bookstore, different forest, woodland creatures that are like sentient or like anthropomorphic in some way, all just kind of coexisting peacefully together. And I feel like books like this are really important, even though I don't read them hardly ever, because I feel like they are a nice respite and kind of a breath of fresh air in a very crazy, anxious, angry world that we live in. So these are a nice antidote to that. We're also, like I was mentioning, social media, the like different trends and aesthetics are starting to make their way into literature as well. I mean, they have been for a while, but this is literally described as a cottagecore tale, which I think is hilarious. What are people gonna think of that in like 50 years though, I wonder? That's like a topic for a whole other video. Anyway, it's a lush cottagecore tale full of stolen spellbooks, unexpected friendships, sweet jams, and even sweeter love. This sounds like so much fun though. Like as soon as it starts to get a little bit cold outside, this is gonna be the kind of thing that I crave. I love it. I love some sprayed edges. I love a gorgeous cover. Maybe cozy fantasy will be my new thing. I think I'm really gonna like this, even though it's not typically the type of thing that I would gravitate towards. My story graph shows that I just read a lot of dark literary fiction. Like dark is always my number one genre, or like mood of books that I read. So maybe it's time that I inject something a little bit lighter into my reading. So this will definitely do the trick, I think. So I'm actually really excited for the spell shop. Okay, last one. We have Ali Bardugo. I am a big fan of Ninth House, Hellbent. I haven't read any of her young adult, if I'm being honest, which is kind of what made her famous, but I did really love Ninth House. So her newest one that came out, I think either just this year or last year, was The Familiar. I've seen some reviews, maybe a little bit mixed, generally good. I know Leigh Bardugo herself has said that she did the most research for this book, and so she's very proud of this book. I don't know that I'm gonna like this one as much as Ninth House, because Ninth House is like a dark academic book. This one isn't. It takes place in, I forget the time period. The Spanish Golden Age. Okay, so I don't know that I've ever read a book set in that time period. How gorgeous though on the inside. I also got this for 15 bucks. I was very excited about that. The aesthetics are there. For sure. We've got black sprayed edges. It's just like the new thing with like every single book. There have been so many I've seen with decorated or sprayed or stenciled edges. It really does add something to the book. I have to say, I am quite obsessed. But our main character is named Lucia, survives by using scraps of magic, I love that little description, to get through her days as a scullion, which is like a maid, right? Like a scullion maid. But when her scheming mistress discovers the lump of a servant cowering in the kitchen is actually hiding a secret for little miracles, she demands Lucia use those gifts to better the family's social position. What begins as simple amusement for the nobility takes a perilous turn when she garners the notice of Antonio Perez, the disgraced secretary to Spain's king. So it sounds like Perez has some things to prove to the king. Lucia is now kind of trapped in this forced servitude. I do really love books that mix like magic and science. I feel like The Discovery of Witches did that, which I think is so much fun because obviously we don't think of those things as being related to one another typically. We think of them as being like very opposite. I do like books that combine the two. So I'm hoping that I really like this. If I like it as much as Ninth House, it's gonna be a new fave. So many good books to get to this fall, and this is one of them. All right, guys, let's see if I can do this without dropping them. If you guys made it this far, thank you so much for watching. Let me know if you have read any of these, and then let me know what you thought of them in the comments, of course, and I will see you guys in my next video. Bye, guys.